Hey, remember those pictures of the time controls on the Back to the Future car that are all over the internet? Usually altered to be today's date, and then usually some similar image like that, or just something else from Back to the Future with the comment that this is the day that Marty McFly went to the future, or this is the day from Back to the Future 2. Where's my hoverboard? Remember those pictures, those memes going around the internet? And usually false. Well, sooner or later it had to come true. Oh, look, there's a meme that says it's the day that Marty McFly traveled to in Back to the Future. And if I don't look into it, I think that's kind of cool. And I go amongst my day thinking, that was just, this is the day from that story in that movie that was really, really cool from way back when. Or if you watch the movie a whole lot, you'd know that that was just wrong. And, of course, if you don't think about it, go on amongst your day, and then a few days later, a few weeks later, a few months later, you're like, oh, this is the day that Marty McFly traveled into the future. When you see that meme again, it's like, wait, didn't that already happen? Or more likely, or actually less likely, it probably happened less often, you could be like, really, this was the day? I should look that up. I should watch the movie again. Or maybe you watched the movie a whole lot and you knew that it was just wrong, but there's a lot of potential reactions to it. Needless to say, when it comes up enough times, you'll realize, I wonder when the hell it actually was. Well, it's this year, it's this month, and unless I'm delayed uploading this, it's this day for actually. Wow. That's kind of nice. But it's actually Back to the Future Day for real! Finally! Yay! I wonder if after it's over, if people will keep faking, doing fake versions of that picture, that screenshot of the destination date on the DeLorean. That they'll keep doing fake versions of that to different days, and it'll keep popping up forever. This is the day that Marty McFly traveled to the future. How many times did that happen? Yep, it's Back to the Future Day. So why not take a look at something that has something to do with Back to the Future? Such as this model, the AMT Back to the Future DeLorean, or AMT Time Travel DeLorean, or AMT Dr. Brown DeLorean. Basically, the Back to the Future car. Alright, here we have Back to the Future Model Time Machine DeLorean. Yeah, it's not just any DeLorean, it's one modified for time travel. And let's see if I can just pick this up with the camera in one hand and my usual hand free. My left hand. There we go. And there we have it. Yeah. It's not too bad. I put this together in my early teenage years. I don't know if it was like 13 or 14. Maybe it was 12. I don't know. Probably 13 or 14. Probably around 1991. I've been repeating the Back to the Future movies on television a lot. It's probably before I had got them on VHS. Maybe around the time I got them on VHS. I got the first two on VHS anyway. Didn't like the third one as much as the first two. My favorite was the second. I also liked the cartoon series. It was a little too silly, but the cartoons and comics I also enjoyed, especially the concept of the time travel flying car. Yeah, and here we get a description of the Time Machine DeLorean. So there's a little bit of a technical manual involved with the model, because it is kind of like a technical manual when you see these little descriptions they have for the vehicles and it's just a description, of what it is in the movie. was kind of cool. Alright, so of course, this model, the AMT Back to the Future Time Travel DeLorean, it comes with instructions, of course. And those instructions give a little bit of a history and details on the workings of the car. So you could think of this as a little mini technical manual. And although I'm not going to exactly quote what it says, to give a brief description of just some of the more interesting points, it mentions that the vehicle was created, although technically the vehicle was manufactured by the DeLorean Motor Company, I would assume, but the time travel variation of the vehicle was created by the eccentric scientist or inventor, Dr. Emmett L. Brown. He picked the DeLorean because the car's stainless steel body improves the flux dispersal generated by the flux capacitor. Which kind of makes it sound like it's easier for a stainless steel vehicle to break through the barriers of space and time. But with a little extra coaxing, I suppose a normal steel vehicle should be able to do the same thing. Well, of course, they mentioned the plutonium reactor, which helped provide the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity, or as it might be pronounced sometimes, gigawatts. I mentioned some of the other power sources that the vehicle was equipped with later. And of course, this alternate timeline, 2015, that the Back to the Future DeLorean goes and visits, is actually quite an advanced one, allowing the car to be upgraded with technology from that time in that universe, or that timeline, depending on how you would prefer to word that. But in that version of 2015, it gets equipped with, well, some equipment that allows it to fly. It's a world that has hoverboards, which a lot of people would really like to have. But most interesting is some equipment that allows the old nuclear reactor to be replaced with Mr. Fusion. Mr. Fusion being a little something that converts matter into energy. Wow, to have one of those to power your house? That would be some pretty impressive advanced technology. We're actually dealing with some Star Trek level power sources at this point. You know, I suppose technically, any nuclear reactor, be it nuclear fission, like a plutonium reactor, or a fusion reactor, whichever kind you would have, if you had either, technically I suppose they are turning matter into energy. So I suppose the description in the manual of Mr. Fusion turning any matter into energy, well, but the thing is, it can do it with any matter. It can do it with garbage. So that's pretty impressive technology, that you could power your home, power just about anything, by turning garbage into energy. That's some advanced technology. That's probably even more impressive than hover cars and hoverboards. Though hoverboards, a lot of people want them, and that would require some advanced technology as well. One of the things I like about the DeLorean, so I've always liked the General Motors J cars, and it looks like a less stylish early Cavalier. It looks a lot like a, well, even less stylish than the Cavalier. The Cavalier was pretty good shape. When they changed the headlights in 1984, it actually looked really nice. Especially from 1984 until 1987. But less stylish than the Cavalier, you had the Oldsmobile Frienza, the Oldsmobile version of the Cavalier. And the DeLorean looks like a less stylish Oldsmobile Frienza. So when you look at this diagram, how much like a hatchback General Motors J car the DeLorean looks like. Of course it lacks a back seat, but it is styled a lot like a General Motors J car, a little bit more boxy than your average General Motors J car, but still a lot like a General Motors J car hatchback. Alright, here we have the time travel DeLorean positioned on a scratched up old coffee table. There we go. Looking like a DeLorean should, ready for time travel. See the steering wheel in there, and as you can tell, the DeLorean was not a car designed for 4 or 5 passengers. It was a 2-seater, not incredibly unlike the Pontiac Fiero. Rear engine, 2-seater vehicle. Pontiac Fieros were pretty cool looking cars, and if you managed to find one that was reliable, they did have a reliable engine. Just there's so many changes to them from the other cars that would have the same engines that they just were generally considered to be a bad combination. They had a lot of problems. Pontiac Fiero was a real cool looking car though. Yes, cooler than a DeLorean. I'm saying the Pontiac Fiero looked cooler than a DeLorean. Is it cooler than a DeLorean? No, because it wasn't in Back to the Future. Pontiac Fiero was a pretty cool looking little car. John DeLorean was an ex-General Motors employee. I always thought it was ironic he was against making a Pontiac version of the Corvair, which I felt was one of General Motors' coolest vehicles. DeLorean supposedly disapproved of the Chevrolet Corvair and its rear engine design, which was also used in Volkswagens and Porsches and all sorts of other cars, but the car that had his name on it, it went rear engine, rear wheel drive. I like the Pontiac Fiero. But the really cool thing about DeLoreans did have a distinct strength, a special feature, the stainless steel body. Yeah, so they didn't need paint. They weren't going to rust. Oh, and somebody's come to visit us. Hello, kitty cat. Hey there, Piper. Hi, Piper. And kitty cat wants to take a look at the DeLorean. Okay, the cat's taking a look at the DeLorean. Yeah. The cat is not to the same scale as the DeLorean. Okay, let's see. There's that little switch that changes the position of the wheels. Alright, here we have the DeLorean itself. The time travel DeLorean, time machine DeLorean. Dr. Emmett Brown's DeLorean. Looks a little small to take a drive in. It's a 1:24 scale model, so if it was just 24 times larger, then it would be the size of an actual DeLorean. So this is a little piece of, well, a little representation of something you would see in movies, and there's also some comics. Hey, even some video games more recently, though I'm not that familiar with the video games yet. But I did have some of the comics. I remember the cartoon show. Wonder if they ever released that on DVD. Of course, it's on DVD in the form of the movies, and have those, and even have some VHS. There we have it. It's a pretty cool looking car overall, kind of gray, kind of bland looking, but then again, most cars nowadays are. I didn't paint the model. It was a cool looking car even out without the time machine equipment added to it, but you can see the little generator up front, the bar that goes across the front bumper, and that is shown to generate some of the energy that rips open a hole in space and time that the car can fly through and somehow control. And there's a similar device around the general aft area of the vehicle. It doesn't go around the rear bumper, but it goes around the back of the car. Interestingly enough, this modification would not be street legal, not only because it blocks the rear window, but also it covers the rear taillights just a little bit. I don't think that would be street legal. And, oh, this is, at some point since I made the model, one of the windshield wipers fell off. Oh well. Hopefully it's still in the box that I've been keeping this in. Be able to find it again. But there you have it, a time travel DeLorean. DeLoreans are a pretty cool looking car. Not quite as nice looking as, you know, some more cost-effective models from the time, you know, but it was definitely a cool looking car. The actual ones were made out of stainless steel. One thing I didn't like about this model And one thing I always found questionable about the vehicle itself in the movie, the model itself, you can adjust the wheels. See how they hang like that? They should kind of set more like this. Well, this is adjusted to one position, and if I put this like this, it's kind of cool because the wheels can drop down like the car looked when it was in flying mode. And while I thought it kind of made sense, because if you hit something sideways, you're more likely to hit it with your tires on the side of the vehicle, I always thought that the wheels are not actually creating thrust. There's no thrust shooting out of the hubcap. So I thought that was a strange design, because I know I'd rather, by default, have the wheels in a position where you'd land on them if anything goes wrong, rather than land on your hubcaps. I always thought this was an unnecessary change. I never really cared for that aspect of it as a flying car. But well, wasn't that just lovely? One of the wheels popped off. Oh well. But anyway, the wheels don't really set right when you pick it up. So when it's setting down, they look right though. So they don't really stay up in the proper position when you're holding it. And that should just pop right back into place, I would hope. But yeah, one of the wheels popped off when I put the wheels back into position. But there's the fusion reactor, which made it so that it no longer required plutonium, but I guess apparently could create nuclear fusion with just about any normal matter that was placed inside of it. I guess when I glued it on a little bit crooked, but oh well, I did it a long time ago. It was one of the first car models I ever did. I think I did it right after I did the Ecto 1A. Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking car, and I'll have to go put its wheel back on. Alright, here we have the box, the actual box the model came in, and of course when we turn it over this way, here's what we see there. The underside of the box does have some information. Time travel DeLorean from Back to the Future. The Back to the Future DeLorean.